Deep beneath the ocean waves, colorful coral reefs glowed peacefully under the warm sunlight. Tiny fish swam happily between the coral branches, while gentle currents carried bubbles through the water. One small fish explored farther from the reef than usual, searching curiously for food drifting in the ocean. But hidden nearby, danger waited silently beneath the waves. A sharp fishing hook floated between the rocks, left behind by humans long ago. The dangerous hook moved slowly with the current, its shiny bait sparkling in the sunlight. The tiny fish noticed the shining object immediately. Hungry and curious, it swam closer and closer. The bait looked harmless, almost beautiful beneath the glowing water. Then suddenly, everything changed. The fish bit down on the bait, and instantly the sharp hook pierced through its mouth. The tiny fish jerked backward in pain, twisting wildly through the reef. Water exploded around the struggling fish as panic spread through its tiny body, but every desperate movement only pushed the hook deeper into its mouth. The painful fishing line tightened with every second, trapping the helpless creature even more. Soon, the exhausted fish began slowing down, barely able to swim anymore. Nearby, resting quietly beside the coral, a tiny seahorse noticed the strange movement. The little seahorse watched carefully as the injured fish struggled in pain. Slowly, it drifted closer through the glowing water. When the seahorse finally saw the sharp hook, its tiny eyes widened in fear. The fish looked helplessly toward the little creature, almost begging for help. For a moment, the seahorse froze nervously beside the tangled line, then gently, it touched the fishing line with its curled tail. The injured fish cried out softly as the hook shifted painfully again. The tiny seahorse quickly stopped, realizing how dangerous the hook was. Strong ocean currents pushed against them both, making the line sway violently underwater. The injured fish was becoming weaker with every breath. The seahorse knew there wasn't much time left. Carefully, it wrapped its tiny tail tightly around the fishing line. Then slowly, the little seahorse began pulling backward with all its strength. At first, nothing happened, but then, the hook moved slightly inside the fish's mouth. The fish trembled painfully, but forced itself to stay still. The tiny seahorse pulled again and again, never giving up. Suddenly, the coral reef became darker. A giant octopus slowly emerged from the shadows, its long tentacles moving silently through the water. Its glowing eyes locked onto the struggling fish immediately. The injured fish panicked again, twisting desperately against the hook. The fishing line tightened painfully once more. The giant octopus crawled slowly across the coral, its tentacles wrapping around the rocks nearby. The tiny seahorse looked toward the approaching predator, terrified. But even then, it refused to leave the injured fish behind instead. The little seahorse pulled harder against the line. Slowly, the sharp hook began loosening from the fish's mouth. The giant octopus stretched its massive tentacles closer and closer. The ocean suddenly felt cold and silent. The fish was almost free now. Then suddenly, one giant tentacle lunged toward them through the reef. The tiny seahorse used every last bit of strength it had left. With one final desperate pull, the hook ripped free from the fish's mouth. The dangerous hook spun away into the dark ocean current. The injured fish was finally free, immediately. The seahorse grabbed the weak fish and swam toward the coral reef behind them. The giant octopus smashed its tentacles through the rocks, trying to catch them. Coral pieces scattered through the water as the predator chased after them. Ahead, a tiny glowing cave appeared between the coral branches. Because sometimes, even the smallest heroes can save a life through courage, kindness, and friendship.